So I went out and I started smashing the headlights, everything. And my hand started bleeding because the glass cut me. A police van eventually came up and I knew straight away they were coming for me. I knew straight away. And they, oh my God, my life.
The mad one.
It takes a second for us to lose our virginity. Something that you can never get back. And some of us just gave it so easily. It would take you to die to come back again before you could get that back. We don't have the ability to go back and rewrite the past. But you cannot sit down and say, you know what, based on my past, that's what the next chapter is going to be. No, because the fact that you're still alive means that you still have the ability to make a transformation and a change. So what it is that you're going through today, it might look messy, but there's a message in that mess.
Welcome to Blank Canvas to a Masterpiece podcast with your host, Sandra Keimer. Hi, my name is Sandra Keimer and I am a speaker and author. Michelle has done phenomenal work in growing her brand and dedicates herself to transforming the lives of many worldwide to go from being ordinary to extraordinary through the art of personal development, writing and speaking. Her numerous affiliations and recognition surround her passion for life, transformation and motivation and vision creation and financial growth. Michelle's core passion is influencing individuals with families, entrepreneurs, and organizations to achieve their personal, financial, and entrepreneurial goals. She's a sought-after speaker and has worked with some very high influential individuals to accelerate transformation and impact. Michelle has released 4 books, including her best-selling Overcome and Rise Above, How to Turn the Downside of Your Challenges into the Upside of Renewing Your Life, followed by Rise Above and Believe It's Do or Lie, How to Get Rid of Excuses, Create the Life You Desire. Another book that she's written is Authority, How to Write Your Book and Use It as a Marketing Tool for Your Business, Your Book and Beyond, as well as co-writing 3 other powerful books. Michelle is known as an inspiration with her open honesty and bold, bubbly, yet powerful personality that shines with passion and has motivated thousands of all over the world. Being an international speaker, she has been speaking for the past 10 years and within this time has won numerous awards, received a letter of accommodation from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, reflecting her impact, spoken on stages alongside Andy Harrington, Sharon Lechter, Jerry Roberts, and Tony Robbins. Featured on Sky TV, Harold Hill Radio, Womanly Magazine, Have a Business With Magazine. After hearing Michelle speak, her uplifting character, warmth, and humor will leave you challenged and inspired to take the actions necessary to bring about change. Michelle will show you how to break free, believe, and build to create the life and business you not only desire, but deserve. She firstly began with her dedication to giving back to her community via her Women Be event, which enabled women to break free from the circumstances, believe in themselves, and learn techniques on how to start a business and build a brand. Michelle is an overcomer against and teaches through her various seminars, masterclass programs, and going into organizations to bring about transformation with her speaking and training modules. She is a wife, a mother of 3 children, and is a pure essence of success. Born in London but raised from the age of 3 in the country of Jamaica, a survivor of domestic violence from a previous marriage and suicidal tendencies, depression, huge financial debts, through the many challenges she has faced whilst parenting her son diagnosed with special needs. Michelle has taken the opportunity to turn her pain into passion by sharing the experiences of her journey. Her insights and experience in life of overcoming difficulties has inspired many. Michelle strongly believes that your pain can become your passion. This passion has endured her with abilities and strategies to help others overcome those stumbling blocks on their journey. The numerous challenges this inspirational woman has faced propelled her to not only write her books, but to also assist others to share their story, and has created a coaching program that has helped to change the life of others. Michelle strongly believes that your life is a book. You cannot go back and tear out the pages already written, but you can determine what is going to be written in the next chapter of your book called Life. Awards and honors received: letters of accommodation from Her Majesty the Queen 2017, Mentor of the Year 2018, Performance Coach of the Year 2020, Speaker of the Year 2017, Global Authors Award 2018, Global Women Awards 2022. And she's also spoken on various stages: Power to Achieve in Amsterdam, Events from Champions, Thailand, Professional Speakers Academy, Dubai, the National Commercial Bank in Jamaica, and also featured in London Live TV, The Dig and Deep, Power Extra Radio, Stand Out Women Radio, and Oasis Universal Radio. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome to Black Canvas, to Masterpiece. And I just want to say, woo woo! You said I want to be myself. Let me be me.
Good.
I'm gonna throw everything out the window now.
Of course.
I'm even gonna take these earphones off. They're getting on my nerves. They're painful. Sorry. Oh my God, Michelle, I'm gonna tell you something. This book.
Oh my days.
This book. Michelle, I've read this book once. And this is the second time I've read it. But the second time I've read it, I'm like I said to you, I'm gonna throw everything out the window. The second, let me just go. Let me try and reprogram myself. Okay. The first time I met you, Michelle, was on stage. I was on stage. It's a women's event on stage years and years ago, before COVID, way before COVID.
Yeah.
And I took a day off work. It was a Thursday. I remember that much. And I'm going to tell you the story. I know you probably don't know it, about the woman that was managing me. Gave me the day off, and she said, I have seen Michelle speak. You're going to be inspired. Yeah. And I was like, who the hell is Michelle? Who the hell is Michelle? You know how we do things, right?
Yeah,
so I went there and I thought, I've taken the day off.
Who
is she? And I've taken a day off. I think this was my first conference I've ever actually taken a day off to actually go to. Because I'm thinking I need a holiday, not a conference, right? So I went there by myself and I was not disappointed.
Oh,
that's the first time I set my eyes on you. And the funny thing about the whole event is I sat there by myself and with a crowd of people that I didn't know, and you gave an amazing speech which moved me beyond measure. I just felt like I need to know who this woman is. I don't know. I just need to know. And then you said you have your books out at the back. I went and bought your book straight away. I didn't even did I have money in my account? I don't know. It didn't even matter to me. I'm not even counting. Do I have any money? I was like, I'm buying this book. And I read the book the first time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, one thing stuck out in the book. It was about your son. And one thing that hurt me was when you talked about how you went to school. Now, the school called you and you said, I don't want to pick up that phone.
Yeah.
And that hurt me. I was like, I don't want to pick up the phone. I read the book.
Real. I had to be real, because it became a point where, like, every single call, sometimes I was getting called 3 times during it for the day. Sometimes it was every day for the week. And, when you look at when you get those dreaded numbers that call you, right? When you look at your phone, your day is going fine, and you look at the phone and you see that number calling you. Like, the reality is you don't want to pick up the phone. So even though it was to do with my son, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to pick up the phone. I didn't want to hear the same thing.
That hurt me. That hurt me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was in pain. I was in pain because I think that's when I knew you were telling in that book that spoke to me. My stomach was, oh my God, how could she not pick up the phone?
Yeah, I didn't want to pick up the phone.
And I felt the pain.
I got to a point where I didn't know what to do. And it was almost like, you're going to call me, but I don't know what to say anymore. I've done everything. I've done all the meetings. I've done all the child psychological sessions. I've done everything. So I've got to a point now where it's like, what more do you want from me? I know I'm his mother, but I don't know what to do anymore. I've used all my resources. And so it was like almost every call made me feel like I was a failure as a mother. Because I didn't have the answers. And it's almost like, if you're his mother and you don't have the answers, how do you expect somebody else to? So when that phone rang, it's almost like I am not prepared for what I'm going to hear from the other end, because the days it could be anything, right? And so I just looked at the phone. I'm not prepared for this call.
I can't hear you sometimes. The words are coming out. That was the first time I read the book, and it kept on playing in my mind all the time. She didn't want to pick up the phone. So I left that. Obviously, I went on to other things. But I want everybody who's listening to understand your story, what we're talking about really, because we've just gone in because I want to know where were your struggles. I want the audience to know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Michelle, tell us your story.
As you mentioned in the bio, I was born in the UK, went to Jamaica to grow up with my grandparents from the age of 3, came back when I was 19, entered into an abusive relationship. The abuse didn't start until after we got married. And then obviously my son was a product from that marriage. And I experienced a journey with my son that I cannot explain. So from the age of 2, the rage that he would get into, he could, as young as he was, he could smash, he could demolish a whole room. It was so bad that I didn't even want to take him places. Like I felt too ashamed to go anywhere with him because of how he would react or behave if I said no. And somebody would just look at it and think, oh, maybe that's a child that is spoiled. No. And that's why I would say to people, when you see a parent going through something with a child, don't necessarily assume that that parent is a bad parent because you have no idea of the background. Because I had my daughter before him, and they're complete opposites, right? And I remember being told about, somebody came to me and said, have you had your child assessed? Because things weren't adding up. Like, for instance, he had to line up his food a certain way. He wouldn't eat meat. You couldn't put gravy on his food to give to him. Things had to be lined up a certain way when he's eating. And so between myself and the school, we realized something is not right. But the problem was the school wasn't set up at the time to deal with a child with his needs. And so it was a case where automatically they wanted him to go to a special needs school. And at the beginning, I wasn't having it because I'm like, he is capable. And I did get to points where, because they were like, don't expect anything of him academically. He's going to have it difficult to read. Even when my son was like 9 years old, he couldn't read, he couldn't pronounce words. And I remember coming home one evening and saying to myself, I have two choices. I can either accept what I'm being told about my son, or I can do the best possible to do for him. But during these times, remember, I'm turning up to school. Parents are approaching me. Your son has hurt me. Showed my child in the playground. My son is coming home. Mom, everybody else has been invited to a birthday party except me. So all of these things, and I'm dealing with all of that. And I remember even going to church, for my church community that I attended at that time. Thank God for them because he would get angry and just throw tears. And oh my God, it's been a journey. And I know parents that have gone through this journey, they know what I'm talking about with this feeling, right? So my this mentor was able to get more out of him, working with him for an hour than what this school could get out of him for a week.
Yes, I read that. That was amazing. That was
Literally.
amazing.
Yeah, seriously. And I was like, okay. He was like, your son just has a different way of learning and he needs to be assessed. And when we got him assessed, he had traits of autism and ADHD. And on this basis, the school wanted to send him to another. And I'm like, no. So he's going to stay here because there's going to come a point in time when you're going to have to deal with another child. What are you going to do? I was like, I'm not accepting this. The head teacher, I said to her, we're going to have to work through this. I wasn't accepting it. I went out, looked for help, got advice. There was an organization in Tottenham called the Mark Field Organization, and they helped parents that had children with special needs to get what they were entitled to in schools, because a lot of schools were turning children away that had special needs merely because they didn't put in place what was meant to be put in place for them. And so I became an advocate for that. I was like, these things are going to be put in place for my child until every avenue and every resources has been exhausted. Then you have to understand. By this time now, I got past being the person that was scared to answer the phone. By this time, I got to a place of realizing that, girl,
Oh,
you're going to have to
dear.
fight for this child. Right?
Amen.
But I went
Amen.
through the avenue of, I need to run away because I can't deal with it. But I got to a
Oh,
point where
dear.
it was a case of, if not you, then who?
Who? Who? Exactly.
Who?
Exactly.
If,
Who?
like, seriously,
Who?
if not you, then who? Tell me, I beg,
Who?
please. Let me
Eh.
know who's. who is going to be able to show up,
And
right?
you know what? You're equipped to do it. You're equipped to do it. You just didn't know. You were
Just
equipped
didn't
to do it.
know.
You didn't know,
Didn't
Michelle. I want to
know.
cry. You know what? I've cried so many times with reading this book. I'm tired of crying.
Yeah, we've been given choices. And I think what happened for me was obviously me again, I'm jumping gun as well. Because what happened for me as well, why I think my confidence was knocked that way was because obviously the abuse that was happening to me, right? Because it stole my identity. I lost my
Yes.
voice.
Jesus.
I
Jesus.
lost my voice, having food
Jesus.
thrown at you, you know, being hit, being sworn at, being ridiculed, right? It tore me.
Michelle, let me tell you, you did speak your truth. I felt every level. And you know what? I've kind of over highlighted the book. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Listen, when you first met this guy, there's something you said. He ticked all the boxes of just the kind of man that I wasn't looking for, but I
Yep.
felt just the same as he came at a very low point in my life.
Yeah.
How many of us have done that?
Yeah.
I put my hand
I
up.
think, many of us have done it
I
because we
put my
felt like
hand
we
up.
needed to fill a void at that point in time. And it's almost like sometimes, we do things on impulse. It's like yesterday, I said, okay, I've been doing a reduced sugar thing since last week, right? And straight away, I felt the urge for sweet. I'm not a sweetie person. For me to eat chocolate, I have to feel for it to then eat it. And I only eat specific chocolates. You'll never get me just eating any chocolate. I'm kind of a bounty snicker girl, right? And it's not regular. I have to actually feel for it. However, there are times when you'll get urges, right, for something. And it's not that you need it, you just want it, right? It's not a need.
It's a
If you
want.
make up your mind, you can say no to it. Nobody's forcing it down your throat. And it's the same thing that applies to everything. I believe it's T. Harv Eker that says the way you do anything is how you do everything. Right? And so you may not apply the same thing that you do with sugar or sweets or things that you crave for to your life, but believe me, it is the same. Because I didn't need him, I just wanted somebody to fill the void. And so sometimes when we are in that place, we end up eating things that we know that we don't really actually want. But we
They're not
just
good for
want it.
you.
Yeah,
They're
it's
not
not
good
good
for
for
you.
us.
Destroy
But
your
we just
body,
we
your
crave it,
mind,
so I
and your
crave it, so
soul.
I should just have it. No, there's some things that we crave, but we have to we have to be able to get into that position of saying no. And the thing with me is I'm a loyal person, and I'm the type that always want to be responsible. So the moment that I started something with you, I won't get up tomorrow and say, okay, that's it. I know it's not right. Or so the moment that I've entered, especially into obviously a sexual relationship now with this individual, I'm not going to say, okay, I realize that this person is not for me. Because in my head, I'm like, I need to make this work. I've just given up myself to this person. I need to make this work. And sometimes as women, we do that because we have this nurturing about us and we think that we can fix people. And so the things that I saw as boxes that he ticked that wasn't my type of boxes, I was like, he can change. Like, he can change.
He can change. He
He
can
can change.
change. I can change him.
I can change him.
He's got
What ended
hope.
up doing is changing you.
I've got
You,
time.
you understand
I'm a
what I'm
good
saying?
person. We just need a little
So,
bit more of this and a bit
yeah.
more caring, a bit
Yeah.
more
So
food.
seriously, type of guy.
Mm,
He wasn't my type of guy
we
at
do that
all.
all the time. A
You
lot of women
know,
do it. A lot of women
when
do it.
I sit back sometimes, Sandra, and I'm like, how? Like, I'm trying to
How?
make the math. I know you love your numbers. And I'm trying to make this math, and it's not mathing. You
It's
know what
not
I'm
my
saying?
thing.
Even till this day,
But
it's not mathing.
emotions is not about numbers. Like emotions, you don't have to make the math. When it comes to emotions, it's about emotions. Your
Yeah.
emotions don't add 1 + 1 is equal to 2. They just kind of like 1 + 1. Who cares? I just want it. I want it now. And you know what? There's something you touched on, and I kind of read it through. Something I've mentioned before in one of my, I think it was on Instagram, about emotional needs. And you talked about your growing up with your grandparents in Jamaica
Yeah.
and how you felt lonely because when your parents
Yes.
will come and visit you, and your parents will come and visit you, but it was on and off, on and off. And sometimes they won't be able to make it because they didn't have enough money to come and visit you. And although your grandparents were there for you and physically, right, helped you and
Yeah.
helped you become the woman you are, as in be able to do the dishes. I'm sure you did all that, wash the clothes and be able to be practical. They gave you the practical support, but the
Yeah.
emotional support, because one of the
Exactly, it's lacking, and that's a very valid point, and the reason why I believe it's valid, especially in our society today, because there's so many parents that believe if I provide, everything materialistic for my child, then they're good. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a parent. Hold on, there's an emotional aspect to parenting as well, and if you hesitate to tell your son how good they are, if you hesitate to tell your daughter how beautiful they are, trust me, there'll be somebody lined up outside that will want to tell them, all of these things. And this is how they really draw children in and start grooming children, because children are not getting that emotional strength from within their four walls that they live within. Parents will quickly tell a child what they can't do or what you've done wrong and highlight it to them, and never really take the time to highlight to that child what their strengths are. And that child goes out into society thinking that I'm so useless. And then they come across people that tell them how useful they are. Right. So for me, I didn't grow up hearing "I love you." I didn't, and even though I know my grandparents did, but they did what they knew, or they gave me what they knew. They couldn't give me what they didn't know. So I didn't grow up hearing, the I love yous or getting the hugs, or so. Even though my provision was there, even though I know that there was nothing that I was in need of, or there was nothing materialistic that I was lacking. However, the emotional side of things, that was a great effect, because it was almost like, now when I entered into this abusive relationship, it was almost like he was now solidifying certain things that I had already kind of started to think about myself. And so it was very easy for him to infiltrate and get to the parts of me that could break easily. Because I noticed you said parents, but it was only my mother that was coming to look for me. I didn't have a relationship with my dad till I was 19.
Yeah. You said something about your dad was missing.
Yeah, he was
You
absent
could
out of my
he
life
was
from the age of
absent.
19. So I felt rejected in some ways, because obviously my siblings knew him, my other siblings knew him, my siblings were around him. I was the only one that didn't have a relationship with him.
Oh, do you
And I
think
just
that
didn't hear him, not talk to him, anything.
do you think that kind of played an impact on how you were in your relationship? Everything you said, I kind of relate to them. Like you said about how you're responsible and how you stuck around and how you like, I can change him. There's things that you said in this book that I can relate to so much. I'm not on the same level as you, obviously, but because I remember getting into a relationship and the guy, I just didn't have the emotional connection with anyone at home, really, because my parents were always busy working, and I always went to the house. He was smoking a weed. Boy, I had to put up with shit that I
Same,
didn't even want to put up with. And then when
same.
I said no to him, he slapped me hard across
Wow,
he slapped me, and I don't know if you know the cartoon characters where they go, the head goes spinning. My head was spinning, and
wow.
the what was so sad about the whole situation was the things that you have to do to escape,
Yeah, yeah.
to escape. And the only reason why I remember half of the things I'm saying to you right now, I'm not saying remember because I don't talk about them, is because I went to therapy.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And for the first time, I went to therapy, and the woman reminded me of what I had to do to escape. And that's when, I mean, when I went back to read your book again, it just reminded me of what I had to. I was like, oh, Jesus.
Well, thank God for us that escaped, because unfortunately, as we know, there's some women that's still there and still in the midst of that, and sometimes I think to myself, where would I be today if I didn't escape? Like, I don't even think I would exist. I guarantee, I strongly feel that I would be dead. If not physically, at least mentally, spiritually, I would be dead. Because the moment that you stop living for you, you're dead. The moment that you're living based on somebody else's direction of how you should be and what you should do at the time, you're dead. Because you're
You're
not
not
existing.
alive. You're not
You're no longer
existing,
existing. You're alive, but you're dead.
but you're dead.
Because your life is their life. And it's the same thing when it comes to comparisons, and when you're trying to be like other people, you're dead, because they're the ones that are alive in your life. Because you're trying to live their life instead of yours.
You know what's so scary? There was a bit where you said you had a tumor in your left ear.
Yeah.
And I want to swear, but can I be allowed on this podcast? God help me. Because I want to say something. The son of a bitch hit you on your tumor.
Yeah.
He aimed at you.
Yeah.
He wasn't even like, he didn't even think. It was as if the devil took over.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. You know,
But
the
then
Bible
you
tells
did.
us that we should not, it's not the man, but the spirit behind the man, you know. And I remember when that happened, I couldn't even swallow. I remember I'm seeing it like it was yesterday. I'm seeing everything exactly as it happened. And that's why even when at some points where he was trying to, when everything was coming out now and he was trying to tell people that it's a lie and all of these things, I'm like, you're bipolar. Like, seriously, you're bipolar. Went back because they did obviously the pre-ops and all of these things and did the measurements of how large it was and everything. And by the time I needed to do the operation, because this happened between the pre-op and the operation, by the time I needed to do the operation, it went from a surgery that was supposed to be 2 hours to a 4-hour surgery.
No
Because
way.
the nerve had already wrapped around it and then it got bigger. So between that period of time and then it got bigger. And boy, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. Like the things, sometimes when I look back, right, and I remember, was it one day last week or the week before, I woke up like about 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm lying there and I'm like, God, how am I still here? Like, how am I
Amen.
sane? How am I sane?
How are
How am
you
I walking around a
saying?
sane person to the point where I'm pouring into other people's lives? Like, how is it possible?
How is it possible? How is it possible?
You don't write off your life or anybody else's because you never know. Because if somebody came back to me back then and told me that I would be doing what I'm doing now, I would maybe stone them. I'd even maybe flog them.
Because you think it's not true. It's not going to happen to
Yeah,
you.
I'd say, please stop mocking me.
There's something as well that happened that you said he hit you with the remote control,
Yeah.
and then you went to smash the
So
car
actually,
because
he
you're
hit my
very upset.
daughter. So he threw a remote control at me, but he hit my daughter.
And then you went out to
And
the
I
car.
saw that was the first time in my huh?
Go on, talk. Go
No,
on.
so that's the first time in my life where I felt like real, like I felt a rage, like I'm not scared of you. I guess when you know, like just like a bear and their cub, even if a bear is scared, you touch their cub and all hell breaks loose. So he threw the remote at me, but he hit my daughter in the head, something that he denied up to, I guess, even up to now, I guess, right? And I had bought a car. And because it wasn't his money that bought this car and everything, he created the biggest scene. Like he was in a rage. And to the point where his friend was looking at him like if he's crazy. His friend is like, it's a car. It doesn't matter whose name it is in, etc. He ended up being the one driving the car anyway. Because I wasn't allowed to drive the car, basically. He drove the car. He took control of the car. So the car, even though I paid for it, ended up really being his. So when that happened, when he threw the remote, and I realized that he hit because I realized he was going to throw something, so I managed to dash through the door. But I turned around in time to see it hit my daughter on the head. And I was about to get back into that because this time around, I'm like, nah, this is it. Like, this is going to be showdown now. He managed to shut the door, so I couldn't get in. So I went outside and there was a stone. I didn't even care about the fact that I paid for the car. The reason was because in my eyes, I paid for it, but it's not mine. You're the one you have full control. You're the one driving it. I obviously I didn't tell them what he did, but I told him, yep, it was me that did the car, and etc. And the guy, he obviously radioed to the other police officers, told him, you don't have to come. We've seen the lady. Because he actually called him and said it was a mad woman mashing his car up. So they were coming to restrain a mad woman. So obviously, in the UK, tons of police are coming. So when these guys got there, they radioed in and said, you know what, nobody else needs to come. We have her, etc. They didn't put handcuffs on me. They said to me, you know what, for some reason, they said we're not even supposed to because for our own safety, but I have a feeling that we don't need to worry about you. So I went with them to Tottenham police station and they dressed my hand. They spoke to me and they were like, I never forget, there were two men and a woman, one woman and two men, two police officers. And they said to me, tell us what happened. Because I believe he did something to you. You don't seem to be the type of woman that would do what's happened. Something happened. And they were probably, they weren't stupid. Like these officers, they knew their stuff. They knew, it's like they could read me. It's like they're saying, like, this person that's presented in front of me, like, there's nothing here. It's registered. It's not making sense. So he was like, because when I now told him that, yes, I live at that property, they were like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. That's when they now told me that, are you aware that he's the one that called and said there was a mad woman mashing up his car? I said to them, would you believe that I was the one that bought the car? And they said, that's the reason why it's not making sense. You need to tell us what's happened. And I didn't tell them. I didn't tell them.
See, that's the bit I read and I thought, this is where you try and protect someone who's harming you.
Yeah.
Even when they're harming you, you're protecting them.
100%.
And I was like, we do that all the time.
All the time. And it's that thing about putting somebody else's value or valuing somebody else over yourself, because that could only be the possible reason. I'm valuing somebody over myself, and I'm seeing clearly that this is not right. I'm seeing clearly the signs. I'm seeing clearly that I need to get out of this, but I didn't. Right? And sometimes I never forget the night when I finally decided that this is over. That was the night where I actually fought back. That was the night I decided that it was over. And I remember sitting in the bathroom, and I could hear, I don't know who he was. He was a psycho. So he had times where he would be acting as if he's talking on the phone with somebody and degrading me. And nobody was on the phone. So this time around, I have no idea if somebody was actually on the phone or not. But he was just saying the most about me. And I remember being in the bathroom. And that's a part of my story that you've seen me present when I was locked in the bathroom. And I remember being in there and I'm like, Michelle, where are you? I said, Michelle, where are you? Because I started now reflecting on like my childhood days. I started reflecting on me being deputy head girl. I started reflecting on me being a part of the debate team and all of these great things. And I'm like, what are you doing here? It's like I'm talking to myself. And at some parts I was like, was I going crazy at that point? Like, was there a mental thing that was happening to me at that point? Or was it God talking to me at that point? Right? Because I sat there and I started having this deep conversation with Michelle. Because at this point, there was two different the Michelle that was showing up now was a complete different Michelle from the Michelle that I once knew. And that's when I really realized that my identity was gone. I used to ask for as much overtime that I could possibly get so I don't go home.
Yes, you said that in the book. You didn't want to be at home. You wanted to be at work more because it felt safer to be at work than it was at home.
Thank you. I didn't remember even I said these things. Remember, I've written this book
Baby,
so long ago,
I've read your book too much.
I've read this book so long ago, but I guess that's where people can see that, you know what, this woman is not making this up.
You're not making it up.
Because I've written this book so long ago, and I'm still able to tell it as it is in there. I'm not. There's nothing that I'm saying now that is different from what I wrote. And I didn't want to go home. I felt like I didn't have a home. I was leaving. Being at work was my freedom. And when I'm leaving work, I felt like I was going into prison. Whereas for many people, it's the opposite. They can't wait to finish work to get home. For me, I want the day to drag out at work. Keeping in mind, even as much as my children were there, I guess that was the only kind of peace that I had, was that with the children, he was somebody quite different. Because he seemed to be a child at heart. So he would play, he would take the kids to the park, he would do all those great things. Because somebody may be wondering, well, how did you trust your children? You know, how do you trust the children to be with him? But he loves children. He absolutely loves children. And that's why I call him the Jekyll and Hyde character, because when you see him on one hand, you're like, okay, no, I need to make this work.
Yeah, because you want a man who loves children, don't you? We all want a man who loves children, especially your children. You're like, yeah, you hit the jackpot kind of thing, you know?
Sandra, he will go in and he will cook. He would set the candlelight dinners. He would
Mm.
go to the cake shop and buy the fancy cakes and just bring them, not for any reason, or it doesn't have to be a specific event or anything. It didn't have to be, right? And that's the reason why I say Jekyll and Hyde, and that's why sometimes I have to say, I say to myself, now I'm like, wonder if this guy has bipolar, right? Because he would literally get angry, demolish the whole place, and then turn around, and the way that you would see him crying, if somebody came in, they would think that I was the one that did it.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in the book, that he would cry, and then you go back to him because you felt sorry, and you felt, oh my God,
Yeah.
you felt really, really sorry. And the fact that, he would be like, forgive me, that type of thing. And you'd be like, okay, let's get back again. Let's try again. But then it won't last very long. Maybe he did
100%.
have bipolar. Maybe,
Over and over.
I mean, to be honest, sometimes I think people have underlying issues that they need to go and seek help for and get
Address.
therapy for and address that they're not addressing. But then those issues eat away in your normal life, having a relationship, being with people, your environment, and even your growth in life. So I think that's something that I think we don't address these issues. Sometimes we argue about people and we're like, oh my God, I'm arguing. But why are you arguing? Have you actually thought why you're arguing over silly things that don't make sense? Especially when something doesn't make sense. You're like, that doesn't make sense. That means something is eating away at you. Something's going on with you that you need to address, and so that you can correct and get a solution for before it eats away at you. So you're going through all these things, and then your son has ADHD at the same time. How did you manage?
Same time.
How did you manage?
The only answer that I can come up with is God.
When you escaped, you stepped out of the whole environment. It was difficult because you were homeless.
Yeah. And so I left him in the house. So even though the house was really my house, because he was the one that was living with me, he was refusing to get out the house. And so I ended up having to come out the house for our safety. And so I was going to my friend's house, staying at my family house. I've had times when I got to the house and he's locked the door, locked me out. I've had to call the police. The day when I realized that I needed to get out of the house is because I woke up one night maybe about 2:00. I found him standing over me. Because by this time we were now sleeping in separate rooms. Yeah. I found him. I woke up, opened my eyes and found him standing over me. And oh my God, my heart. And I said to myself, nah, this is not safe for me. This is not safe for me. And so that's what happened. And then what then transpired was I now went a day to go and get clothes, and he had locked the door. And so I had called a cousin of mine, called family members, called the police. And obviously, my cousin first came, and then we tried to get the door down. Them doors wasn't budging. Called the police. And then when the police finally managed to break down the door, he jumped through the window and he left. And so that kind of I thought would have been the end of this saga. I didn't know that a series 3 was coming. I didn't know season 3, episode 1 was about to be aired. And so now obviously I've got back, entrance into the home. What was now happening is I would wake up every morning and go out, my car would be keyed. I would go to the shop, come back, and somehow he got into the house. And I would notice that my purse is gone. Or I came back in once from work and I realized my clothes was gone and some was cut up. And I would go to a friend's house, I go outside and all my tires are slashed. And so I literally was being stalked. Literally being stalked. I remember one day getting the kids ready, got them ready to take them to school. The door was barricaded from the outside. We had to climb through the window to get out. It was just getting ridiculous. And obviously I had no proof that it was him. And the police just kept saying, he lived there. His fingerprints are already around the house. Until they have solid proof, they can't say it's him. Even though obviously the likelihood that it is him, because I didn't have, it's not that I had any enemies or anything, but they obviously have to go by evidence and proof.
Of course.
So it was a very, very rough time. I remember being ill, constantly being ill, to the point where sometimes I couldn't even speak. My tonsils were so swollen. It was a really rough time.
And I think there's a point where you said you went to the doctor I think I got this from your speech. You went to the doctor and you told him there was something, and he read your report. He read what you've written, and then he asked you to tell your story. Tell me what really happened. And that's when you told him that you know people say I'm mad, but I don't think I'm mad.
I attempted to take my life. Yeah, because people literally thought I was mad, because it's like I am knowing that I'm being followed. I am knowing that I'm being watched, because like sometimes I would go to the shop that was just a few minutes walk from me, and by the time I've gone to the shop and come back, something else has gone from my house. You know what I'm saying? So the only way that could happen is if you're actually watching me. And so obviously having that paranoia and that fear, because you know that obviously this is somebody that has abused you, this is somebody that has hurt you, and you never ever know. You see and you hear all of these stories about exes, what they've done, you know, to their ex-partners. And so you are going through this whirlwind in your mind of the possibilities of what can happen to you. And you're being watched and you're being followed, and that paranoia, and I think that's exactly what you wanted, that paranoia kicks in to a very high level, to the point where you're seeing him even when maybe he's actually not there. And that's how I was for a long time. And so it was a case of almost thinking, you know what, you know, am I going mentally ill? Am I going crazy? I was like, you know what, I guess the only way all of this is going to stop is if I exit, because I'm the problem. And sometimes we do that. We end up taking a blame for something that we're actually not the blame. We start to look at, what did I do wrong? There's obviously something wrong with me for the fact that I was treated like that. You know, what did I do wrong? And yes, there's times when we have to do an internal check, but there's sometimes when that's somebody else's bag and you just picked it up. Yeah. And I think I did that for a long time. And I had a lot of guilt, because obviously to me, I've now obviously taken the children away from their dad. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm battling with all of that. I'm still going through the hell at school with my son. And I'm like, I need this pain to stop.
And that's when you thought of trying to take your own life, basically.
Yeah, went through a lot of suicidal tendencies. I remember going to the shop. I never forget. Every time I passed that traffic light, I remember going to the stop and timing the traffic light. I'm like, the moment that the light turns green, I'm stepping out. And I literally did. And I never forget. And every time I say to myself, would I remember that person again when I see them? Or, you know, where they just placed there? Did God just place that person there to be an angel? And she's the one that literally grabbed me out of the road. And I think at that point, I had to pretend as if I didn't see the car.
When you know
And
you
it's
did.
selfish. You know, now I can look at it and say it's selfish, because I didn't think about the driver. I didn't think about my children. All I was thinking about was the pain. And that's why I say to people, when you know, it's very easy to say to somebody, you're selfish because you attempted suicide. They have to understand that the person gets to a point in their mind where they actually think that they're doing a selfless act. The person thinks they're doing a selfless act because they're thinking, if I remove myself, it will be better off for everyone. So in their mind, at that moment, they're doing a selfless act. At that moment, I believe what I'm doing is going to benefit my children. And it's mad. It's very hard. When it doesn't happen to you, it's hard for you to understand that, because you're like, how could you think that? How can you rationalize that? Your child's going to grow up without a mother. Your child's going to da. But at the point in time, it's almost like somebody's seeing the sky black and you're saying, no, it's blue. They're seeing black. So no matter the picture that you're trying to draw, the person is seeing black. And somebody may look at it and say, oh, that person is just trying to be difficult. The person is seeing black. They're not looking through the lens of how you're looking. So it's easy to look from the outside lens because you're not in it. But the person that is in it, the lens, everything is just skewed. Like everything is just different for the person. The way that they're looking at the situation, different. So where somebody else sees selfishness, the person sees selfless act.
They think that they or you at the time, you're thinking that I'm doing the world a favor to get to go.
100%. I'm doing the world a favor because I am the problem.
The problem.
So if I am the problem, if you remove the problem, then everybody's okay.
Everyone will be happy.
Everyone will be happy, right? And it's a very dark place to be. It is a dark place. And what you have to realize in dark rooms, I can't remember who said this quote, that dark room is where negative develops. And it is dark rooms, when you think about it, when before we had all of these amazing technologies, when they take a picture, they take it into a dark room and do all the little bits, and the images start to formulate. And it's the same thing with the mind. When the mind goes into a dark place, there's images that start to formulate that are actually not true. There's images that start to develop. And sometimes it's developed from a place of fear, either fear of failure, a fear that you've let people down, disappointment, shame, and it eats away. And the more it develops, it's like, when you've clicked on one of those virus things, right? And you're trying to close it, and maybe it's popping up porn, and the more you're trying to close it, it's the more it's popping up and popping up and popping up and popping up. And it's the same thing with your mind. You have times when once one negative image gets created, and from that one negative image, there's like another 10, 20 images that is solidifying that first image to tell you that is true when it's not. And the devil has the way of doing it. It's demonic. It's demonic. He is demonic. And the devil has a way of coming to you, because remember, I am not seeing what God is going to use me to do today.
You can't.
I'm not seeing it.
Because you're in the blackness. How can you see
Because I'm in
anything?
the blackness. I'm not seeing it. The enemy knows. The enemy knows. You think the enemy wanted me to be doing what I'm doing now? No.
No.
So she needs to go. Yep. I will tell you all the things that, girl, your family, your children, they're going to be better off without you. You need to go. Right? And so that's why I always make this statement that I almost killed that girl. The girl of today, the me that wrote that book, the me that's on stage talking to people, encouraging people, I almost killed that girl because I didn't see her.
Until you went out and got help from that doctor.
Until I went out and got help, I didn't see her.
How did
And
you
it was
get?
almost like the devil didn't want me to see her so that I could kill her.
What made you decide to get help?
So this is where it gets deep. Yeah, it gets very deep.
Do I need my water as well?
So it got to a point now, I lost my job. So days for me look like this. Wake up, give the kids breakfast. I'm zombified now. Wake up, give the kids breakfast, take them to school, come back home, go under the covers. I can't even remember. There may have been days when I may have not even had a shower. I can't even remember. Like, I was gone. Got up, did the same thing to the kids at school, come back, go under the covers, pick them up, get them something to eat, go to bed. I was watching Trisha, the Trishas, and all of these shows. That was my company throughout the day. Judge Judy, still love it till this day, right? And there was one night my phone rang, maybe about 2 a.m. in the morning. I used to go to a church off and on just to visit, not like fully attend. I ended up going there because a friend of mine was getting their son christened, and I went. And so every now and then, when they're going, I would just go along with them. And I had saved the pastor's number in my phone, but I didn't go. I went as and when. Despite the fact I grew up in church, but when I got to like a certain age, teens, I'm like, oh, I have my life, I'm living it. Okay. About 2 o'clock, I got a call. I didn't answer it because I thought most likely their phone must have called me by mistake, because they're not people that I spoke to like that. I couldn't see that they would really be calling me at 2 a.m. Left it, got up, took the kids to school, came back, another duvet day, I guess. And whilst I was there in bed and I was literally sobbing, the phone rang again, and I answered because I figured maybe they're calling to apologize for the fact that they called me at 2 a.m. The wife was the first one that came on the phone, and then she gave the husband the phone and literally said, when you called at 2 a.m., it was not a mistake. He said, I would not allow him to sleep. And I'm like,
wow.
What were you talking about?
Yeah, you got a wife at home too.
Yeah, exactly. What is it? I'm not allowing you to sleep. Like, what are you talking about? And he said every time he closed his eyes, he saw me alive, lying down in a casket on top of dead bones.
Oh dear.
And he said, this is not something that I would normally call somebody to tell them. But he said it was so severe. It was so intrusive. And normally, if things like that happened with him, he said he would normally pray and he would be fine. But he said, with me, it was not shifting. So at 2 a.m. in the morning, still not shifting. And they invited me to church. And I went to church. Remember just going, Sandra, the way that I was so zombified, yeah, I was just going through the days. And somebody may wonder, how comes I saw somebody yesterday, but then the following day I heard that they've killed themselves and they look so okay. The outward appearance, what you're seeing on the outside is not necessarily what's going on the inside of someone. Because I was showing up, but inside
because
I
it was a
felt dead.
routine. You're
Huh?
used to the routine. It was a
Yeah,
routine. It's
it was
easy
just
to
a
do a
routine.
routine if you've done it 100 times.
100%, just a routine. And so I went to the church and I remember sitting in the church and I just remember as they're doing the praise and worship and everything. And I just remember just feeling heaviness fall from me. I remember just sobbing my eyes out and just feeling so light. I just remember just sitting there. I don't remember if I took part. I don't remember if I clapped. I don't remember nothing like that. I just remember sitting there and just crying. And they prayed for me and everything. And, you know, they kept close contact. They would pray for me. I started going to church. And I remember one day I came home. They were doing a revival. And I remember I was like, God, I really need you to talk to me, to tell me, do I even deserve to be here? I'll never forget. I came home, dropped the kids to school, came back home, and I'm like, we need to talk. I'm like, God, we need to have a conversation right here. You created me, you put me on this earth. We need to have a conversation. And I remember kneeling down in the living room, right on the sofa, and I was praying, and I remember clearly saying, God, I don't know who I am anymore. I have no idea of who I am. I have no idea why I'm still here. You need to tell me why I should still be here. And at these times, obviously, when I was younger, I'd go to Bible school, like the children's class and whatever, and we had to learn like Bible verses. But I didn't like I could tell you Genesis, Exodus, all of the, like I could tell you all the scriptures, but I wouldn't be able to say to you this scripture. You could go and find it this place or whatever. And I remember, Sandra, the way that I just heard it clear, Isaiah 43. Isaiah 43. Isaiah 43. I'm like, what is that? So I went upstairs and I got my Bible and I never forget. And it talks about, it is Isaiah 43, isn't it? It says, I have called you. I know you by name. You are mine.
Amen.
You are mine. And it was like, I just broke down. I literally just broke down. And I was saying to myself, okay, God, I hear you. I am yours. That's why I'm here. And so I shouldn't be wanting to remove myself from this earth because of somebody else, because I don't belong to them.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? And it's from there that I started to take the step and realizing that I nearly removed myself from this earth because of somebody else.
They don't belong to you.
Yeah. I am God's. I am His. I'm His creation.
And nobody
He
else.
decides when I leave this earth. He decided when I was going to enter. So He decides when I'm going to leave.
And not you, Michelle. Not you,
Not
man.
me.
Not
Yeah,
you.
not
You
me.
don't decide.
Yeah, I don't decide. I don't belong to myself.
And
I
how
am
dare you even
His.
think that?
You know, how dare.
How dare
So,
you?
yeah, so that's where, I started going back to church and getting really in depth with church. And church just became my focus, my center. It became my everything. And spiritually, before anything else, I was becoming a lot stronger spiritually and emotionally and mentally. Because sometimes you have to get to a point before you realize that, you know what, I need help here. And so the help for me started, I believe, from the church community, because even though my family was there for me, they could only be there for me to a certain point because I only told them a certain point. There was a lot that they didn't know until I did my first TV interview. And so somebody can only be there to the point where you allow them to be there. And so my family couldn't get to be there for me. And a lot of them were hurt. When they saw my interview, they were hurt because they were like, I can't believe you were going through this and you didn't reach out to me.
Because
Like,
sometimes we
we're
can't.
not a far-fetched, we're a close-knit family. How could you be allowing yourself to go? And I had to explain to them, shame has a lot to do with it because I felt like a failure.
And you mention it in your book. You say it so well, and I feel you.
Yeah.
Rejection, failure, judgment. One of the words that
Judgment.
spoke to me was judgment. How people
Yeah.
judge you, and you said it so well. There's a point where you said, "I didn't want to be the kind of person who looks like they sleep around." Because I
Yeah.
had two different dads from two.
Yes.
I had two kids from two different dads, and do you know how many women feel that way?
Yeah.
And do you know how many women
100%.
actually stay in a situation because they don't want to be judged? They don't want
Yeah.
anyone to say they in their minds they're thinking people are going to say I failed my marriage, I failed being a parent,
100%.
I'm not good, I'm a what would you call it, a concubine,
Concubine, yeah.
I'm a second, what do they call it, a second, the seconds, like other
Yeah,
people's
matey.
seconds,
Yeah, like a matey,
all these
a side
names.
chick.
But the truth is, then you trap yourself in situations that are killing who you really are. Michelle, you
100%.
said it so well in this book. You listen, you spoke everything out. I don't even, you're like, I'm going to tell you everything. And in my mind, I was thinking, how many of us do this to ourselves?
Yeah.
I need to stick around because I don't want to look like I sleep around. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
But you're killing yourself.
You're killing
Sticking
yourself.
around. Because you can meet 100 bad apples.
And it goes back again to people. And this is what I mean when I say, when you're living for people, you are dead. You are dead if you're living for people, because I was more worried about what people are going to think than what was happening to me. How? Like, that's insane. You're so worried about what people are going to think of you that you're killing your own self.
Because you want to look perfect.
Because we want to look perfect. But yet you're not feeling great.
No.
You want to look perfect. What's the point of it looking perfect to the outside world when inside you're dying?
And we do it all the time. We do it all
All the time.
Because we're afraid of being judged. Not being wanted. But we're not wanted anyway.
Yeah.
You're
And
not
it all
wanted
boils down
anyway.
to that rejection thing where it's like, oh my God, you get to that point of where you feel like I wasn't wanted all along. And I guess it stemmed from the root of, again, I was having this conversation yesterday, just based on my pastor's preaching at his sermon yesterday. And it's the fact that, the choices and decisions that we make, we don't realize how those that are dependent on us, how it affects them, right? So parents do certain things and don't realize the depths of what they've done or said goes on or carries on in the life of their child. And they didn't mean anything by it. But the truth of the matter is, you don't know how that child has taken that thing on and how that child has carried it. There's times when you've just said a word, you've released a word, and you're not realizing that it's a seed
You're
that
planting
is
in your
being
child's
planted,
mind.
that is going to germinate later on in the life of that child.
Determining how
And
far the child will go.
And how far, do you understand what I'm saying? So even just not having, just a decision for me to grow up with my parents and not having grandparents and not having my father around, I felt rejected. Even though that was not the intention. Right? And so all of these parents that are not taking time out for their children, not allowing their children to be able to be comfortable to have a conversation with them, fathers that are not showing up for their child and they just treat it like, oh, it's just another child, doesn't matter, he'll survive, the mom will be able to look after him financially. Yeah, that's all good, but there's another side, there's another level to this thing that goes so much deeper. I realized I had to get to a point of really feeding into my children when it came to affirmations and recognizing who they are, because so many things had happened that could make them doubt their true identity. And as I said before, If they can't get the affirmation from you, they're going to look for it somewhere else.
And when they do, they'll end up in the wrong hands of the wrong person who's going to treat them like hell.
Yes,
Like as if
because
they
there's a
don't
gap.
belong here.
There's a gap. There was a gap, there's a void that was left empty. Parents, be open to telling your children, I love you. Don't have so much pride that you can't hug your child and say, I love you.
You're beautiful.
I was just about to say that. My daughter, anybody tells her she's ugly, she's like, I know that's not true because my parents tell me how beautiful I am. But imagine if she was in a household where she's been told she's ugly. The moment that somebody turns up that tells her that she's beautiful, they have her.
Of course, because that's what she needs to hear.
That's what she needs to hear.
That's what she
So
needs to
we
hear.
as parents have to stop leaving gaps open
For other people to take over and torture our
for
kids.
other people to take over.
Because we're all God's children, and somebody wants to take God's child and destroy that child.
Of course. You see, destiny is an important thing. Destiny, if people realize the importance of destiny, they will see how the lengths that the enemy will go to destroy it. I want you to think of it this way. There's two houses, yeah? And there's a robber. And he needs to make a decision of which house he's going to go and break into. You have one that is filled with gems and one that is filled with, let's say, cubic stones. One is filled with real diamonds and one is cubic stones. Which one is he going to go into?
The one with diamonds.
The one with the diamonds. That's the one he's going to break into. So when you see challenges coming, when you see, the Bible says the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Steal, kill, and destroy. Steal, that means you have something for him to steal. Kill because you have something for him to kill. Destroy because you have something for him to destroy. A thief can't steal from nothingness. There has to be something there that he can steal. So when he's coming for you, try know that there's something in me that he's seen. That he's trying to either steal, kill, or destroy. Why am I such a threat to you? People wonder, people will say, how comes you're so, how do you go from being the person that lost their voice, had a voice, lost that voice, to now having this voice and being so open and so real and not worrying about it? And I said, because I now realize the value of what I have. I now realize what it is that the enemy wanted to silence.
Yeah, your greatness.
You understand? And so now that I know, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to just sit there. Like, you're a shepherd. Remember, we're all shepherds. We've been given a gift or purpose to shepherd and navigate on this earth. And we're a shepherd. The shepherd tends to the sheep, protects the sheep from wolves, right? So if you've been given your gift, your talents, and a purpose to shepherd here on this earth, are you going to just put it out there, see the wolves and the hyenas and everything coming, and you don't fight to save that?
You need to fight. You need to fight to save.
You have to fight.
You have to
Mate,
fight.
I'm not saying that I'm not going to go down, but guess what? I'm not going down without fight. I ain't going down without fight.
I'm coming after you and you and you and you, because my greatness speaks louder than anything else. Because I realize my worth.
Yeah. I was saying to somebody the other day, I don't know, why doesn't he give up? Devil, why you don't give up? Because I've come too far to turn back. I've come too far. I have come too far.
And you've done great. You've done amazing. You've done amazing. You've done amazing. I think the greatest achievement was your son. How you've managed to get him from being somebody who was judged, because you had to go through your own judgments, but he's had to go through his judgments. And not only that, from the environment that you had, then you moved on to a new marriage and you got married to a wonderful man. So he comes into your life, and then the environment has changed to a better environment, but you're still struggling with your son's ADHD. In school, you had the incidents in school, but then the incidents at home where he burnt your daughter's hair, and your daughter does not forgive him. which I'm not saying.
Oh my
She's
God.
like, I just want to hug her. Really, I tell you that now. I want to give her love and hugs, and she felt like your son was your favorite,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah. He took all my time. I was going to meetings on top of meetings. School would be calling me. She would have meetings. I wouldn't be able to go. She would have a performance going on, and it was almost like I wasn't able to balance it, and I wasn't seeing at the time what it was doing to her. And it was like she got to a point where she started fighting at school, and it was because she thought that, okay, if I started acting up, then I would get noticed. Again, things that we do as parents and we don't realize the effects,
ouch.
we don't realize the effects. And what I love is the relationship that I have with my daughter is we talk openly about everything. And so, she's able to share with me how she felt at that time. And, she has, obviously, now that she's older, she has a better understanding that that was not the case. But I have a very, very open, there's nothing that my daughter cannot speak to me about. To be honest, nothing that none of my children cannot speak to me about. That's something that I wanted to have with the relationship of my children. And that period of time, so she still talks about it now, but we talk about it in a joke and whatever. And because obviously her hair is grown back, she's fine. But we talk about it in a joke now. And my son, he doesn't remember it. He literally, bless him,
Oh,
he
I
does not
know.
remember.
I know.
Doesn't remember it. But it's amazing how we can look at things that could have been so detrimental and look back at it now and smile. And that's why I say to people, your past doesn't define you.
It doesn't.
It doesn't define you. The decisions that you make, yes, it helps to pave the way for what happens next, but it doesn't define you. It's up to you whether you choose to carry that bag throughout all the way throughout your life, or you get to a point and say, you know what, I need to offload. You need to stay here, because you can't take part in my future. You
I think
understand?
I understand, and I think what you did in the book very, very well is that you talked about getting help and getting support.
Yeah.
You said something about you how you obviously you're advising other people, you must get help and support. And the thing about you said you didn't want to get help and support. You didn't want to believe that your son had a problem. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do that. I
Yeah.
think my daughter's perfect too.
Yeah.
You say
But
one bad
nobody
thing
wants
about
to
my
believe
child,
anything.
I'll have you.
Nobody wants to believe that anything's wrong with your child.
No,
And the first thing
no,
first thing you want to attack, you want to attack the messenger. It's
exactly.
like a taboo thing. Like, how dare you? Like, what's wrong with my child, etc. But the truth is, it's about being able to recognize and see for yourself that there's obviously something there. And the only way that you're truly going to help that child is you coming firstly to a place of, even ourselves, is coming to a place of acceptance and acknowledgement that there's something there. There's something wrong. You're not gonna go to the doctors unless you're thinking, apart from for a checkup, unless you believe that there's something wrong. You won't take your car to the mechanic unless you believe that there's something wrong with the vehicle. Right? So until you get to that part of acceptance and acknowledgement that something is wrong, you won't be able to get the assistance that you need. We sometimes have to swallow our pride and what we know and what we think and how we think people are going to view things and all of these things, shove them in the bin and say, you know what, I need to do what's best for my child, or I need to do what's best for myself right now. And right now, that is going to require of me to sit down and actually analyze my life, analyze what is going on, and accept and acknowledge that there is actually something wrong.
In your book, you talk about a problem, and you say in every problem, I think it's a quote that you got from the book, every problem there's a seed of solution. Like, I thought that was beautiful, by the way. I
Yeah.
thought, wow. If you look at every problem, but then you look at the problem, there's a seed, there's a solution, a seed. That seed is the solution.
Yeah.
Then you'll be able to, to understand that you can actually solve any problem that you have your way. That any problem that comes to you, yes, it will be a struggle, but there's a seed of, there's a hope.
There's
There's
hope.
hope.
Definitely. So if you look at it this way, we always, when a problem comes, we get so caught up with the problem that we can't see anything else. And that's where the problem is, because what then happens is you see that you keep focusing on the problem so much that the problem grows even bigger than the problem really is. because your mind then you start to allow your mind to tell you all the things, all the aftermath and the consequences of that problem. So you've created the problem before the problem has even created itself. You understand? You're already, I think the analogy that is just coming in my mind now is you see in a little puddle and you see the rain set up and you're like, oh my God, if the rain start falling, that puddle is going to fill up, and that puddle fills up, it's going to cause a flood. And if the flood happens, it's going to come through in my house, and if it comes in my house, it's going to wet up my sofa, it's going to flood. You understand what I'm saying? It's not happened yet.
No, it hasn't. No, it
Yeah, but,
hasn't.
but you've created it, and it's gotten so big to the point where you're having an anxiety attack because your house is flooded, and it's not yet. However, you see the puddle, you see that the rain is set up. Okay, instead of doing all of that analyzing of every single thing that could go wrong, why not nip it at the bud right there and say, okay, to prevent those things, maybe I could get some dirt, fill the puddle up. But if you stick with just the problem, you'll be looking at the problem until the rain does come, until the puddle does get full, until the flood does happen, and then your house gets flooded, and then you say, I knew exactly that is what was going to happen. Okay, so you knew that was going to happen, but you sat down and allowed it to happen. Right? And I'm not saying that every situation pans out like that, because sometimes we get hit from the blind side, as Les Brown always says. Sometimes we do get hit from the blind side. But the choice is there again to either one, wallow in self-pity, or two, brush yourself off, get up and start moving again. Right?
And that's what
because
you did.
lying down is not going to do anything for us.
And that's what you did. You did that for your son.
Yeah.
You got him a tutor, and the tutor actually brought out his strength.
Yes.
And he was academically he improved.
Yeah.
And there's somebody else you met right at the end of the book. You met this guy. I think his name's James.
James McNeil, yes.
He only found out that he had ADHD at the age of 30 or something like that.
Yeah, at the age of 30.
And all that time, he felt like he was worthless.
Yeah. Yeah, because that is what happens, because you start to see yourself as being, and this is where many schools tend to get it wrong. They the way that they have their expectations is for every child to be and show up the same. But every child is different. Every child learns differently. Every child sees things differently. Their opinions are different. They're coming from different households. They've been taught different ways of life. Traditionally, it may be different. So you cannot then expect that because a child is contained within a classroom, that they're going to now all act the same, learn the same, look at things the same.
The same.
Right? You could write something on the board and 10 of them would tell you a different thing of what they see. Totally. Right? And so I guess this is where the educational system at times can fail children, because for my son, all it was that he needed to be taught differently. But sometimes, again, you can't even blame the school system, because how much is the government giving them to really fund and be able to do certain things?
And the teacher has 30 children to deal with per class.
Exactly.
That's a
one
lot.
one person to deal with so many children. And so what ended up happening was that I was able to push to get a teaching assistant that worked with Rashawn closely during school. They were set up specifically for him. What we then realized as well at the time, he didn't like, even though he spoke very loudly, he didn't like noise. He didn't like to be touched. He had times when if he was bored, so he would finish the work so quickly, and then if he was bored, he became a distraction for the class. But what used to happen before is she would just say, sit down, sit down. No, he needs something to be active. So if the case was, a little space was created for him, that if in case he finished his work on time, he would now be able to go to that space and do something. Right? And so implementing these things then made it a lot easier. I'm not saying that it eradicated everything. No, it didn't. But it made it a lot easier for him to learn in a school environment. It made it a lot easier for him made it a lot easier for the school, actually, for them to then also pay attention to the other children in the class. Right? And so it's really about caring enough to implement things. You know, that school has gone on to do so much more for children now because of him. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well done.
Because of him. And so I remember when his SATs results came, the teachers cried.
Wow.
They literally were in tears. They cried, right? And so if I didn't get to the point where I now realize that I need to be a Xena warrior princess for my son,
Exactly. Let's be honest.
be honest, yeah, that you know what, 100%.
Let's be
Yeah, I
honest.
just needed to tap into that tap into that area of me. It's been a journey, and sometimes when I look back, sometimes I don't even remember the things that have happened because it's so much. And
But this
until
book is
maybe I'm having a
amazing. It's
conversation,
best-selling.
huh?
Look at that. Bestseller. It's bestseller for a reason. It's bestseller for a reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you're not only teaching people about what you went through, but you're teaching people how to overcome.
yeah,
Overcome judgment, overcome rejection, overcome needing emotional needs and how to combat that need. You're teaching people how to survive. Even when the going gets tough, get
yeah,
up. Please get
yeah.
up.
Get up, man.
Just
No,
get up.
100%.
You
But it's been a journey. I don't
what
regret it.
no. And I like the fact that at the end you talk about Rashan's feelings, how he felt. Because all the way through it was about I went through the domestic violence, I did this, and then you're like, I never thought about how he felt.
Yeah,
Because he's going through it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He doesn't even understand what he's doing.
Yeah, doesn't understand, and people don't get that. People really don't get that,
And
and
because
that's what a lot of people
because they're
miss.
caught up in their world. We all have this
Yeah,
bubble. We all have this bubble that this is me. This is how the world is supposed to be. And
yeah,
then when we get somebody or something that's different from us, we reject it. We're like, that's nothing to do with me. Oh, that's somebody else's business. Oh, you must
yeah.
have done something wrong, you know? But the
Exactly.
truth is, we're so caught up in ourselves that we don't see that actually other people are living their lives differently from us, and we have to be open and non-judgmental. And also look at the person who's going through it and ask him, how are you feeling?
Yeah, no, 100%. 100. Nobody's so because the culture of today is me, myself, and I one, right? And so everybody wants to say I'm hurt. Okay, if it's a case where they're saying hurt people, then is it not possible that the person that hurt you is,
Let's go back to the source. What's going on with him?
and that is it? Going back to the source. What is the root problem? Because we always want to look at things from the surface, but what is the root problem? You know, when I look at my son, I always say the root problem was I chose to have that individual father my child. Root. Remember, I'm saying to you, this person is possibly, as far as I can
Jekyll and
see,
Hyde. You said
bipolar.
Jekyll and Hyde. Bipolar. 1 minute
Bipolar.
up, next minute down. I remember you saying that clearly. But that,
Choice.
yeah, he also had a problem himself.
Yeah.
Because we have to remember we're all God's children. So if we're all God's children, the question is, where's that coming from? And if he doesn't get help, he's just going to go from one person to the other and spill the
Exactly.
beans.
The same thing.
It's never going to change because he
Never.
hasn't changed. He hasn't faced his problems. He hasn't confronted his demons. And because he doesn't,
100%.
and it's going to go from one person to the other because it might have been the end chapter for you, but it's the beginning chapter for another lady.
100%.
Another child, another environment.
And the cycle continues.
And the cycle continues. The one thing that I got out of this the most is having faith and God.
Without faith, what do you have?
You have nothing.
Or let's take it to obviously to a lower level. Without hope, what do you have?
You have nothing.
What do you have to look forward to? What makes you continue? What makes you push? What makes you believe? Because if you don't believe, if somebody is going through the desert and they need to get through it in order to get to, let's say, their child, they have a hope that they're going to see their child. Once I get to the desert, I'm going to see. I'm not saying that they won't lose the battle in the desert, but what I know is they won't lose the battle that easy. They're going to push with every ounce and inch of strength that they have because of the hope that they're holding on to. So if you don't have a hope to hold on to, what do you have?
You're going to have something. You have nothing. And that's how you lose everything.
And that's why you see a lot of people today, in today's society, a lot of, Gen Zs, different individuals that don't have resilience because they don't have hope. They don't have resilience because they do not have something that they have placed or positioned in their life as a why I need to keep going. And that's why when the breeze blows, they're out. They have nothing solid that they're holding on to and saying, I need to overcome because of X. I need to keep pushing because of X. I cannot give up now because of X.
Michelle, then from everything you went through, you have built your own business, Breakthrough Consultants. Mm-hmm. You are now helping others write their story.
Yeah.
You are now healing lives. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. You're healing wounds that have been broken, that have been touched, that have been neglected, rejected. You name it. And one of the wounds that you've actually healed is mine.
Oh wow!
You helped me write my book. Sorry, I'm gonna get my tissue. You helped me write my book, and remember we went through your modules. We went up to a hotel, and you made us write titles down, what we're gonna call our books.
Yeah.
And we were in a group with the beautiful ladies. That was a beautiful experience, by the way.
So you make me have shivers.
And we all had, I think we walked away with content. We walked away with chapters. We were able to pitch our books. We walked away with so much. I hope you're still doing that program because that program was good. Anyway, you helped me write my story down. Helped me not have the writer's block because people get writer's block. I know someone, when I told them my book was finished and I had published my book, they were like, I've been trying to write my book for 8 years and I haven't finished my book.
Wow. 8 years.
8 years. And they couldn't even say, oh, Sandra, that's fantastic. You did well with your book. They just looked at me and said, I can't even say, well done, Sandra, because I've still got mine to do.
It puts me in mind of someone that we know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that we knew.
Oh, my God. That wanted to write her book. And she was, do you know what? She procrastinated and procrastinated and procrastinated to the point where she ended up dying without writing the book. And she kept on talking about, I'm going to write the book. I'm going to write the book. I'm going to write the book. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And in the end, COVID took her down.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're like, we're going to write the book. Just write anything down. Write the book.
And there's so many more out there.
There's so many people.
Yeah,
there's so many people who are out there who want to write their books, want their story to be written because it's a legacy. You're leaving
it's something to be left behind. And she was actually the second individual in that space of time that the same thing happened to. There was one, the furthest she got to was sending me the image of what she wanted to use as a book cover. And it was her holding her son's hand because she had cancer. She had beaten it, but she had said, you know what, she just had a feeling of writing, something for her son to have years after she's left this earth, just if in case the cancer comes back. And I never forget with the weekend that I met her, we're at a conference, and the weekend that I met her, I was mentoring at this event. And I remember speaking to her, and she asked me if I could follow her to her room. I never forget this. I followed her to her room, and we sat down, and she said, I've felt a lump in my breast. And she was like, she's in two minds whether to stay at the conference or to leave to go get it checked. And she's like, you know what, I'm going to stay because the difference of a day is not going to make any, it's not going to make any difference. And truthfully, the cancer it came back, and she didn't get to complete the book. Didn't get to complete the book. And that rests on me so much, because I thought to myself, if I had even just a small amount of what she wanted to write, believe me, I would have compiled it. But when I last spoke to her, she was like, you know, she really needs to get it done. She's just feeling too weak at the minute. And she died a few weeks after that. You know, so there's so much unlived legacies, uncreated legacies, I guess. You know, they always say that the graveyard is the richest place because it's a place where lots of dreams and aspiration and businesses that weren't developed are. But what they also forget to say is that the graveyard is also a place of the most regrets. It's a place of the most regrets.
I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed that.
Place of the most regrets. Sad reality.
I think I needed it. I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
We need to stop. We need to start living.
Yeah. We don't know. Like, I think, you know, we get carried away so easily with life that we don't take enough time to stop and analyze. And when you look at the amount of people, like, when I think about COVID, I always say to myself, you know, it seemed like you were in one of those sci-fi movies that you would normally
So true. So true. So true. So true.
seeing mass graves in this country, England. Mass graves being created to put bodies.
I think there's a film that I saw, and I'm not sure who was in the film, and everybody was dying all of a sudden, and they couldn't, nobody was on Earth, and they had to. It's like an Armageddon, isn't it? Something similar to that, and it's like, where are you going? We're all gone.
You know what I'm saying?
We're all
and,
gone.
and and to realize that something like that happened, that took so many people off of the face of the earth, and yet we still spend so much time tearing down each other. People spend so much time worrying about things that are like, I was at an event the other day and I misplaced my phone. I was just casually asking in my phone, and then one of the delegates was, you know, because we were speaking when I realized I didn't have it, and he was looking for it, and I ended up finding it, and he's like, "Wow, you must be very, very rich because the way that you were just so casual." I said to him, "It's nothing about that." I said, "I've realized that everything except life can be replaced."
So good. So good. I went to an event. I went to an event and he asked us to close our eyes, productivity coach. And he asked us to close our eyes, and he told us, where do you want to be in 2025? Like, say today's 2024 and next year 2025.
Yep.
What do you want to celebrate? I immediately cried. I closed my eyes and I cried, and I realized the only thing I want is for my family to be alive. Forget like he had all these categories. You had health, work, what do you want to have? You want to slim down, you want to do this, you want to do that. And I was like, my eyes closed, and the only thing I could think of, I just want my family to be alive.
Family to be alive.
And I cried, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in tears. I'm so glad I was at the back of the whole place,
So
Ali,
good.
that's his name, Ali Abdil. I just want everyone to just be alive. Because when you're alive, you have hope. And when you have hope, you can do something about whatever else you need to do,
True. So true. So true.
So,
Wow.
Michelle, one last question. What's the one thing that you want the world to know?
That's very wide. What you say want the world to know in regards to
About life in general?
what
What
specifically?
is it that you want them to learn? What do you
But
think?
life
What is
in
it that you
general,
want them?
wow. Hey, I'm gonna have to try to navigate that.
If you were
What I
to,
want them
like,
to
if
know is
tomorrow
this.
wasn't gonna happen, what's the one thing you want the world to know?
I would want the world to know this. And I think I say it at the end of most of my talks. You think of your life as a book. When you came on this earth, you came an empty slate, empty pages, and we're writing in it every day that we live, everything that's happening, we're writing it in our life called book. I always talk about the fact that when you look at when you look at a headstone, you see the date of birth, the date of death, and then in between there's a dash. And even though that dash is very small, that dash has a lot of information. And so if you think about your life as a book, all of that information being written in, unfortunately, we cannot go back and rip out the pages of yesterday. I can't go back in there and rip out what happened to me. I can't go back and rip out all the things I would have loved to have done differently based on the knowledge that I now know. I can't. It's impossible. I was saying to somebody yesterday that this is just maybe taking it a bit deeper, is that at times we found it so easy. I'm not saying that we were easy or we did it easy. Sometimes we find it so easy to give up our virginity. You lose your virginity in a second. Think about it. But it takes you to die and come back to life before you could get it back.
Say that again, please. Say that again. Let me be 100% with you, because I'm like, I didn't even think you're gonna go there, but you went there. Say it again.
It takes a second. It takes a second for us to lose that virginity. And there was a friend of mine that we were having this conversation when she said it, because she remained a virgin until when she got married. It takes a second for us to lose our virginity. Something that you can never get back. And some of us, we didn't think about it at that time. We just gave it so easily. But it would take you to die to come back again before you could get that back. And the reason why I'm saying that is there's so much knowledge and information that we now have, and we're thinking, oh my God, I wish if I had done things differently. And, I started a business, but it failed. And so my life has ended. I was in a marriage for 26 years and it ended. So it's like my life ended with that 26 years. But hold on, but God is planning to give you 26 more. So are you going to now use that 26 to wipe out the 26 that could come? So what I'm saying is, we don't have the ability to go back and rewrite the past. We can't go back into this book, turn the pages and rip out the page and say, oh, I don't like what happened in 2020. So let me go in and rip out the pages. We can't do that. Whether we like it or not. I lost my nan as well, 2020. I wish I could go back, but I can't. So as much as I would love to go back and rip out the pages, it's happened. I have no control over that. What I do have the ability to do is decide what's now going to be written in the next chapters. That would be my encouragement. That is what I would want somebody to know. You may not be in the best position now. It doesn't mean that that's what the next chapter of your life is going to be. But you cannot sit down and say, you know what, based on my past, that's what the next chapter is going to be. No, because the fact that you're still alive means that you still have the ability to make a transformation and a change.
That's right.
And that is what my encouragement to somebody is. No matter what it is that you're going through today, it might look messy, but there's a message in that mess.
Yes, that's in that book. I read that in the book. I think I've digested your book, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It might look
There
messy,
is.
but
Yeah.
there's a message. Every single mess has a message in it. But if we get so caught up with the mess, we will miss the message. That mess that I was in, gave birth to this message.
And it also gave birth to this book.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God. Authority, how to write
that's
your
actually the
business book
third
and use
one.
it. Is it, yeah, because you got another book as well. I did see that. I'm gonna definitely buy the other one as well.
I've just completed another one, so that's in the hand. I'm getting that edited at the minute, so I've just done
Okay, this one.
one.
So if anyone wants to write their book, get a hold of this and get a hold of Michelle Watson. Thank you so much. Listen, you've given a lot of people hope, and I want you to
Bless.
just remember that. Just
Thank
remember
you.
that.
Thank you.
You've turned your mess into a masterpiece for the world, not just for yourself, for the world. And I want to thank you. I want to give you a
Thank
big
you so
hug.
much. Thank you. Thank you for always just being on. I think you've been on the journey since it's almost like you entered the bus and you didn't come off at any bus stop.
No.
You just
I'm
continued.
still on the
And I'm
bus with
very
you, hon.
grateful.
I'm still on the bus with you. You might just hear a text message, Happy Christmas or whatever. I'm still on that bus.
Yeah, you're still here. You remind me of that all the while, and that's why when you reached out to me about this, I'm like, don't care how busy I am, I need to show up.
Thank you so much.
So
I wasn't even sure
I'm
if to
really
ask. You're gonna say you're busy or whatever. I was like,
not gonna lie.
I know she's riding high.
Like
She's on the
February,
top level, but I need to
this
climb up
February
quick
and
and just
this March
ask
I've
for her to
entered.
come on here.
It's so busy. Like the way it's been so busy, it has been mega busy. Like literally, it has. I'm not gonna
Thank you
lie
for
to
your
you.
time.
It has. But I said to myself, and that's literally it. I was like, this woman, since she's entered the bus, she's been on this journey, and so that's why I said to myself, I have to say yes. I have to say yes. No other choice
Thank
but to say
you.
yes.
Thank
So
you.
I'm
But
grateful
can I
for
tell you
that.
something? God spoke to me and said, call her. I'm doing things by spirit. I'm not, do you know what? I really believe in God to the point where I've got to the point where I'm like, okay, I have to listen to what he has to say to me.
Yeah.
When my dreams come, I write them down because they mean
Good.
something.
No, good.
And he spoke to me and he said, I want you to call Michelle and ask her.
Oh, bless.
And I did.
I'm glad
So I
you
want to thank you so much.
Oh,
May God
thank you.
bless you. May God
God
bless
bless you too,
you.
my darling. Thank you so much, and keep on doing
Thank
what you're
you.
doing. All right,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Lots of
bye-bye.
hugs. Thank you. Have a lovely week and
Thank you.
we'll speak soon.
Yes, you
Take
too.
care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. If you have not already subscribed to this podcast, subscribe today so that you can be the first to get practical tips that can encourage you to embrace your full potential, helping you stay committed to your vision. And don't forget to share this episode and bless someone. This is Sandra wishing you tremendous wealth.